My studio is based in Lambles Lagoon, and we're on a 105-acre property which is pretty much all natural bushland. When I'm art making, when I'm creating in my studio, I am nestled in amongst the environment, and that is my inspiration. My name's Jasmin Jan, and I was a Churchill Fellow in 2018. My Churchill Fellowship was about conservation and art and science. And I went to Italy, where I studied mask making and sculpture in Florence and Venice. And then I also went to Thailand and Singapore and actually studied how wildlife parks, zoos and aquariums incorporate art into their messages about conservation. The current project that I'm working on, which I'm calling Blue Carbon, the Magic of Mangroves, I'm actually trying to use as many different mediums as possible, working with scientists and finding out as much information as I can about different areas to create sculptures and installations that will tell a story about the importance of mangroves. My background also is in wildlife interpretation, so I work in a wildlife park where I'm interpreting the exhibit. So it's in my blood that this is what I do, is I try and translate for people through different mediums, and the medium I use is art. There's more than the impact of conservation education in these projects. Part of my argument in my Churchill Fellowship application was the impact of art on building healthy communities. The most recent project that I've worked on at Territory Wildlife Park is the Adelaide River Community Slow Stitch Quilt, and that involved 89 volunteers slow stitching small pieces of fabric. Well, all these people are actually doing their own research. They're Googling and researching the Adelaide River, and they were telling us stories of how this actually made them feel connected with other people when they were in isolation. What I found really nice was how they were thanking me for the opportunity to be part of that project. I knew years before I applied that one day I will apply for a Churchill Fellowship. I'm just not sure what it's going to be for, because you would call me a jack of all trades. I'm not a specialist in one particular thing like watercolour or glass, but I use whatever medium and technique I think is going to be the most effective to convey a message. And it's really hard when you're sitting there in the waiting room and you see all these other Churchill Fellows and you just go, oh, so what's your project? And you start sounding people out, and then you go, oh my God, like my project doesn't sound anywhere near as good as your project. And you start that self-doubt. I was really incredibly nervous. So I actually took 2 small maquettes, which were small models of 2 projects that I worked on, and I actually plonked them on the table. You know, one was a little crocheted coral reef and the other one was a felted forest with the atlas moth, and they were 2 projects that I had worked on and I had talked about in my application. So I used them as a visual reminder of, you're here for a reason. This is the reason why you're here. The thing I love about the Churchill Fellowship, it is so open, it is so diverse. So for me as an artist, it was like, wow, I'm going up against neurosurgeons and rescue people and, you know, human rights activists and stuff. I am really passionate about my arts practice. I am really passionate about conservation and wildlife. So that's recognition that what I'm doing is equally as valuable for community as it is for all these other people. So you just got to have self-belief, I think. If you really want to go overseas and learn more and build yourself as a person that's contributing to the Australian community, you really should consider applying for a Churchill Fellowship.